Alright, welcome to episode 106 of What is Civilization Started Over. Okay, that's annoying. In the last episode, we saw the end of World War IV. That's crazy. World War IV. This world is so destroyed. Also, speaking of destroyed, there's a lot of new nuclear bomb explosion. Okay, wrong layer. Nuclear bombs dropped everywhere, which is going to change the peace treaty a bit, just because the world's not really in a great way. Anyway, we're doing the peace treaty today, which is kind of my fifth major peace treaty like this, which is very exciting. I really like doing those. So that's quite a lot of fun. And first off, we're going to head over to North America, because this war had a lot less theaters when compared to other wars like World War IV, III. But there's still different things that happened, so we're gonna do North America. I also got this map, which is like the occupation. So as you can see, the Pink Country, the Texan Country, and the New England Country all invaded here into America. The capital was occupied by the New England one, and yeah, they lost the war, but then they surrendered. Alright, and the North American front is over, so the Texans down here will regain all of their old land, and also this little bit down here. Just so the border is slightly different, and to show that I did down the wrong layer. Basically, I had to make a new province for the New England country, because otherwise the borders would have looked horrible. Over in North America, the provinces are really tricky, because all the borders here, in the colonial times, they were weird. And then they're really big provinces, because they're colonial ones. I don't know, it's strange. Anyway, over to Minnesota, They annexed all of this territory, and probably also this northern bit of here, so that's all theirs now. And then the yellow country gets this area. Okay, not the lake. And these two provinces as well. They don't quite take the capital city. However, America is far weaker, and they're probably not even a top 10 country anymore. And now power in America is split between a lot more sources, which is pretty interesting with a large Texas. Minnesota is not that strong, and then New England is actually quite strong. So that's cool. And then we can leave North America. Africa, I don't think anything actually happened here, really. I'm pretty sure not anything. And we can go to Oceania instead. Now, the nation of Western Australia, they won in this war. If we go to the occupation map, you can see this area was kind of being occupied, but then these guys surrendered, so really it wouldn't have been. Whilst the Western Australians were occupying all of this territory, which was kind of due to their help from their allies at the end of the war. So, yeah. And then over here in Papua New Guinea, something to note about this country is this one is lots of Indian religions and some Chinese ones, whilst this one is majority Chinese and then some Indian areas over in the west, which are very much marginalized within the state. But yeah, in the peace treaty though, this country is not going to be shown much remorse. Basically, the Papua New Guinea country annexes all of this land, which up to this point, as you can see, is a majority of the Chinese territory. There'll be some population exchanges as well, so they can have all the Chinese people that live on the island of New Guinea within their country. So they also annex all that, and then all these islands as well, making them finally the dominant power over here in Papua New Guinea, an area that has been really fought over despite it not being that important at all. The Western Australians also get some territory from this country as they annex all of these southern islands of the nation, which puts it further into Indonesia and messes up this region even more as well. So that's really great. Anyway, this country is also going to need a new capital city, and they're going to put theirs somewhere. Where would you want to put yours? Let's put it right here in the north. Actually, probably the main area where the economy is like down here. So sure, there's your capital city, and now we need to get to Australia. So over here in Australia then, the Western Australian country annexes all of this northern territory. They don't get anything which is more valuable in the southern area, although apparently this area is less valuable than this, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but shush. I think this is the last area colonized, so I probably put the least focus on putting cities there, so that's why. And now I suppose we can move over here to China, but there's something wrong with China. There we go, much better. China fully united under one, the northern country, which was the one with the capital city, during the war, and now they're back to being absolutely terrifying again. So that's pretty cool for China. Let's first do the Treaty of Korea, where the Chinese country will be, first off, annexing the island of Taiwan, or the island of Taiwan. Okay. And then after this, this peninsula, Qingdao, whatever it's called, they're also going to annex this into their country. They might take some more stuff, but that texturing more lines. So I'll get to that in a second. But we actually need to go over here to Kamchatka, or the far eastern area, because Alaska, and more so Vancouver, but under the Alaskan color, did some pretty cool stuff up here in this northern area, and they're going to get rewarded for that. And just like that, Alaska has been rewarded with a whole lot more fairly useless territory. Vancouver would have liked to annex it into their own nation, but they don't get to do that, because Vancouver isn't going to officially come out that they've puppeted this country, which they definitely have. Also not sure about these islands. Are they? Okay, stupid. Damn it. Hello. There we go. Of course, they also annex all of this territory. So there we go. Alaska is kind of looking better-ish. They spread around either side of the map, which is pretty fun. Well, you can actually see because there's a box in the way, but oh well. Anyway, back to the rest of the peace treaty of Korea. We need to come over here to the islands of Japan. I don't know why there's those blue circles, but as you can see, this is episode 90. In episode 90, the Koreans had conquered all of northern Japan, and it's just the southern one left. And then episode 91, they conquered this, I think. So the island's going to be divided. Of course, these guys got more land since then, but that's because the blue country's also been expanded further north. So it's to kind of equalize the region and hopefully stop wars by making sure they're both fairly similar. So that's hopefully going to work. I don't know about these islands. I don't know where they should go. What happened here? They were Korean, okay. One thing I did realize is that your capital city is that city, as in the blue one. So they've lost their capital now, but I don't think I care enough. So the red country takes over all of this territory, and the blue country, you can put your capital in Tokyo. That's pretty cool. So yeah, two new Japanese, no, not new, older Japanese countries, but they're back again, and they're kind of stronger. So we now have two dominant powers in Japan, but there's also a Northern Island. There's always Northern Ireland. But this country takes over all of this territory, including the island of Sakhalin, which is pretty good for them. I'm not sure it's going to equalize them against the other Japanese countries, but there you go. There's your third Japanese nation, and that's all there is for Japan. And they're going to put their capital city where it was before, right over here. I think Sapporo is the capital of this actual island in real life. Don't know quite where that is, but I think it's somewhere near there. But the general idea at this point is to return Korea into the post-war borders, or pre-war borders, before they annex all the stuff on the Far Eastern country, which looks something like this, and I think looks cool enough for me, so they're going to stay like that. However, returning countries like the Pink Team and the Gold Team, you might just want to reorganize the region instead. They haven't been super successful so far in making excellent, well-preserved nations who resisted the Koreans multiple times, so why not just make some new ones? That sounds like fun. First, I'm going to just make Korea a different color. Okay, but first off, the new Chinese Union country will be allowed to annex all of this territory from the western areas of Korea. I think there's some Chinese religion people there, and honestly, I don't care enough, so that exists. I also forgot about the fourth Japanese country, the secret fourth one, who'll be able to annex some Taiwanese islands, which is going to make Taiwan annoyed, but it's part of the policy to make Japan all even and cohesive and stuff. Anyway, the other Okinawa country is returned into existence, and there they are. They're back. I think the smallest country on this map, so that's pretty fun. Took me a while, but I've sorry, my throat died. I've drawn a lot of new countries, including this orange one. The green one didn't have excellent borders, so I drew them a couple times. But here's a huge green country, which is going to kind of replace the pink team. And then up here in Kamchatka, there's one more nation, and it's literally just the Kamchatka Peninsula. So there we go. I don't know, I had quite a lot of fun making them, just making up random weirdo countries. So, yeah, all the capitals are going to be as far south as possible, but the pink team, or purple team, annexes all of this stuff. The weird Sakha Republican country up here annexes all of these random islands, of course, also into their country, and whatever else is over here. And then we just have the orange one, which is kind of replacing the old gold country that was here, but they're smaller now. So, yeah, weird stuff. The Koreans are also going to need their color back, so nope, religion. There we go. That's got the right Korean color. There's just a lot of layers, so I can probably pick one, and eventually I'll find the right shade of color. Anyway, what I was saying, capital cities for these countries. So you're going to put your capital city pretty far south. You're going to put it in, maybe let's put it in this city. The green country is literally just going to put theirs as far south as they can over here, and Kamchatka is going to be incredibly predictable and put theirs right where the previous capital was, because of course they will. Anyway, there you go. That's pretty fun. Some cool new countries. Look kind of weird, but we'll get used to it probably. Anyway, now we can go over here to Indochina, the second the East Asian country in this war. In the first part of this treaty, then, we're going to see the return of a lot of territories back to countries who owned them before. So, Bengal gets back all of their territory. They're going to get back some more stuff as well into the future. But this is them at the moment. What else is on this layer? Oh yeah, both the Sumatran guys. Let me just do this actually. Okay, so Sumatra now has loads of different lines on it. The Java country participated in the war and they helped to free the island. So they received this province over here on the western side. It's because it's got European populations, and this country is run by an oligarchy of mostly European people or European descendant people. So they kind of want to get more Europeans in their country to increase their dominance over the kind of native Indian people. So the Indo-Chinese territory over here in Sumatra is also colonized or taken over by both of these countries, with the orange team receiving less because the green country got, well, they had to lose land in the south, even though they didn't even fight on the Sumatran side, apart from, like being in the war. However, the orange country is able to receive this island down here in the south, whilst the rest of the Andaman Islands territory goes over to the nation of Bengal, who I think took it over first, like out of any country to take it over. So they're back there, and that's pretty good for their country. But now, I don't know why I keep doing that. Now we can go back to the rest of the Malay Peninsula. Next up, we see Bengal moved even further down this coastal territory. Due to historical claims, they're able to take quite a lot of it over. But with the rest of this territory, it's turned into a new nation called Malaysia. Once again, Malaysia's back on the map, but this time it's blue instead of green, so that's great. And I'm going to make it look like that, probably, unless I change it completely. I don't hate that, to be honest. We do this, and then I don't even know what I want to do with Malaysia. I should have probably thought about that before I started recording. We're doing this, and we're going to roll with that. Alright, so cool. There's a new Malay country. Maybe that'll exist for a bit longer than the other one, which existed for like 2 episodes, I think. I'm blowing up the ocean. Anyway, the capital city-wise, they're going to put their capital right over here on this area. And as you can see, this island, which I used to know the name of, but I don't really anymore because it's not that important. It's out here in the middle of the ocean, and it's going to be given over to Borneo, of course. So there we go. And apparently this island's owned by the British. I don't think so. So Borneo is going to take that too, and there's their war spoils for the conflict. And then the Chinese take over all of the southern territory, so they have got back basically all of the major Chinese territories. They could have expanded further into Indochina, but they're not going to do that. And now Indochina is just left there, kind of as a sad, depressed country. Actually, I might change the border, because I don't know how much I really like it that much. Okay, so there's some minimal border corrections. If you go up to this layer, you can see kind of the difference. This is a different, like it's an old time. But there you go. There's some cool new stuff. And now the Democratic China country is absolutely huge. They're one of the world hegemons at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to them in the future. And now we can head over to the Middle East, I suppose. Nothing really happened in Northern Asia, and hopefully I'm not missing anything for the Indochina or Korea peace deals. But I think we're good. Anyway, to the Middle East we shall go. Okay. Well, here in the Middle East, something pretty monumentous has just occurred, as the Mesopotamian region has been reunited under one new country, which I'm making this color. However, it's going to lose some stuff, because Hijaz and the Persian country both helped to free it, and they helped a lot in the war with some nukes and things. Yeah, this guy got nuked by the Persians, which was definitely a personal thing. It wasn't, oh, we're going to help you. No, we're going to blow you up because we don't like you very much. They didn't lose that much land, because technically they were a victor. I mean, the Italians and the Gangetic country won, even if these guys did also have the Koreans and the Frangler Union fighting. Either way, they're going to be like, hey, you're going to lose some stuff, because meh. And these guys kind of invaded you and occupied some of your stuff. But it's alright, you're fine. I mean, don't be worried about them, they're alright. And now we can move over to the main peace deal, which is the European peace deal, and what I'm really, really excited about. Alright, so the Polish will annex all their territory that is ethnically Polish. I'm not sure if I love these borders, but I think they're okay. I'm not sure what's going to happen over here though. It's really weird. So, to be honest, what I might do is just change it. So change the borders a bit. There's some areas of Poland, or the Polish ethnic areas in this country, where their Roman religion. So basically, those Roman religion people don't want to join Poland because they're afraid they'll be forced to lose their faith. Because, I mean, being Polish and having the Roman religion is a bit weird if you know about the very, very early lore of this series. So the Polish gain some other territory over here in the east. Don't worry, the rest of the border will change. And now we can go into the annexations from Ukraine. And we see Poland annex some of western Ukraine. Not, okay, that's not the right map. Not too much territory. Okay, that's definitely not the right. Oh wait, we have, never mind, we don't. They annexed some of western Ukraine though, but that's pretty good. And now we can go over to the Caucasian annexations from this country. I should have probably done the outline, but then I changed it a bit, so oh well. And the Caucasian country actually gets some good borders as they annex all of this territory from eastern Ukraine, kind of bringing back the ancient Caucasian Empire, but that was a really long time ago, and this is a completely new Caucasian country that is ideologically not a monarchy anymore. It is a center-right democracy, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, over to Bulgaria. And they'll be receiving all their old territory from the Romanian country, so they regain all of this land, bringing back the ancient Bulgarian borders, which still have lots of Bulgarian people in them, and then some areas of not lots of Bulgarian people, but it's good enough for these guys, and yeah, they'll take it. And then over here in the Hungarian country, they'll be annexing all of the Hungarian regions of this country, so they take over this province, and also the other bits that make the border look actually nice. And this is like the capital of the provincial area. So there we go. Hungary now has their weird claw thing back. And now this country looks absolutely disgusting. So we see this western region stripped off from the Romanian country. And the thing about this region is, it's kind of an interesting spot. If we go on to the culture there, we can see it is mostly ethnically Ukrainian. There's some Bulgarian areas, some Polish, and some Romanian. However, it's a majority Ukrainian area. So in the peace deal, this thing is fully annexed into Ukraine. It's now kind of a weird buffer / puppet state, and it's really weird what's going to happen to Ukraine in the future, potentially. I don't know. It's just been a really strange time for the Ukrainians. They joined the war, they lost a lot of stuff, some of the most important territory, including Crimea, but then they gained some random stuff from Romania, who they worked alongside with in the war to try and save. Bizarre times. Anyway, over to the German part of the peace deal. Actually, I encourage you to do that here because Eastern Germany won, and in the peace deal they'll be fully annexing all of Germany. So that's back into their country. But not only that, as they expand into taken areas from their country following the end of World War III, so they regain all of this territory. Norway is pushed up north, and now Eastern Germany is kind of back. Germany's kind of back, guys. They don't gain any of their stuff taken by whatever they're called, the Italians. But, you know, they're kind of cool looking again, so that's pretty fun. Anyway, over to the, I guess, Franglo and Italian parts of the peace deal. So what we see is the releasing of the Netherlands, and they're also going to regain the capital city. I just don't want to accidentally cover it over, because I need to draw in the rest of the stuff. I don't know if they would have created the island, because I just learned that it's an artificial island that the Dutch created in real life, so would it exist? I don't know. Alright, and Catalonia and the Alsace country are returning to existence, so Catalonia annexes their capital, and you also get your annexes their capital? What? You get your capital back, and Catalonia will be losing some territory, however, as the Balearic Islands are instead ceded over to the Italians. That's pretty cool for them, and they're also going to get some other stuff, but from the French. And Italy will be annexing all of this territory from southeastern France. I'm not sure if I love it, but it's what we've got, and now we have an absolutely huge Italian country. Yeah, they look pretty massive, and we need to do the final part of the Franglo Peace Treaty, which will reinstate some pretty old countries. First off, however, we see the recreation of, of France as they regain all of their territory, and then up here in the north, kind of the creator of this entire thing, we have the return of Britain. Yeah, they come up with the idea of Franglism, and then the capital is in Brittany, and then France is going to get their old capital back. Both these countries are reinstated, and there was I accidentally pressed end the recording instead of pause the recording when I was doing this, and it's really annoying. So that's irritating. But France is here, and they look kind of sad, and Britain's also back, but they're not going to keep Ireland, of course. And now we have Yellow Island, which I've never done on a map, but I think the yellow works quite well in this region, so I'm making it. And they're going to put their capital city up here, actually probably in the south, to be honest, because this was the area where the British had their first colony in Ireland. So yeah, there you go. I think this is probably going to do it for World War IV. Oh wait, no, I forgot. Andalusia exists. So of course the Moroccans will be annexing all of this territory in the south. Most of it is African religion areas, but there's some bits which are annexed. So the border looks better, because that is a huge motivator for things I do on this map. Anyway, I think that probably does it for this peace treaty. It wasn't as big as some of the other ones, but the changes on it are pretty major. We have a cool new Irish country. Woohoo! Germany's different. Italy's big. Poland's very big. Ukraine is different. Romania looks hurt. Bulgaria looks massive. The Constantinople country was not punished. We kind of have Mesopotamia back, but green and sad looking. And then basically all the Indian countries that got involved didn't get anything for their hard effort. So good luck. Well done, you guys. Baikal didn't get their province back. They just got given over to the new orange country. Loads of fun new countries in the Far East. Malaysia exists. America looks very much in pain. And yeah, I'm pretty excited to do the next 2 episodes of this series. It's going to get so incredibly insane in the next 2 episodes. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Like, subscribe, comment, and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.